Hammer Down Dyno Service, in conjunction with Bettler Brothers Racing, presents...
This is Brian from Hammer Down Dyno Service. I'm going to show you today how to disassemble, clean a one-barrel junior Slingshot carburetor for a Briggs V-twin engine. A lot of the people getting into this sport are starting off at the junior level, with their kids looking to grow. This will be helpful information for when you have to clean your carburetor. Instead of having to take it to a dealer or be scared to touch it. The junior carburetors are pretty simple compared to the two barrels. There's a little bit less circuitry and only obviously one throttle bore going down in there. So first of all, what you have in comparison to the two barrel is just a single Venturi butterfly going down in that will restrict the power output. We take off the velocity stack and then remove the bolts holding that piece on, and then you have basically what's given to you stock from Briggs & Stratton. There's also an elbow that will connect it to the two-barrel elbow to convert it over, which I don't have on here. That only takes two 12mm bolts to remove. The top piece is actually like a big plate that will come off of the entire top assembly with these Phillips head screws. Luckily here I'm using a brand new carburetor from Tobias. As you can see in here, we have our bowl vent breather return line here, and then this area where the choke shaft was should be plugged with a bolt or silicone or something similar. Here are the air passages for the low speed system. Then when you get in here, you'll see a big gasket. This is actually very easily reused on these carburetors. This is a nice thing. You will have to make sure that you put it back on correctly. You can see there's grooves in it, kind of perforations almost, so that the air will fit and flow correctly in the top piece. It really only goes on one way correctly though, so this one is a new one. Yours will be a little bit older looking, but most of the time you can reuse them. The only time I wouldn't reuse one is if you tear it taking it off, or if it's deformed, or getting kind of spongy, soft. We look down into the carb here. We have our low speed jet, which is here. That you can remove that if you need to adjust the size with a nice straight flathead screwdriver. This will be the hinge for your float bowl. So the float is here. It's kind of a one-way fits all kind of deal there, and the needle valve will be sitting right in there. Just make sure that's clean. Wash it in a little bit of carburetor cleaner, parts cleaner. It has a rubber tip. Just make sure that's intact and it's still soft. And then there's your seat area where your fuel's going to come in. Here's the entrance for the fuel. Over here we have the hex that's going to hold your high-speed jet, and actually the only jet where the fuel is able to enter the carburetor. That comes off with a 12mm. And in there you'll see the jet itself. That's your main jet, so if you're going to adjust for different conditions, whether you want to make the engine run richer or leaner, that's the jet you're going to need to take out of there with a nice straight Phillips head screwdriver. You have to be careful not to damage it. It's only made of brass. It can be drilled with a small number drill set, and if you go too big or you need another one or something, you can also fill it in with just regular solder. Inside the carburetor, you'll see the emulsion tube sticking out into the bore here. That's where your fuel from the top end high speed area is going to be flowing in. This small orifice here is where your low speed for a small low speed operation, idling and such. And then the idle mixture screw is located on this side of the carburetor. Normally during the normal running area you'll run about 2 to 2.5 turns. You can experiment with that, but that only really controls the idle mixture and how the car is going to take off of idle. If you're going to warm the car up to get it up to temperature, you should turn it into about 1.5 turns out. That'll lean out the mixture and help the engine warm up. Here's your throttle butterfly shaft. The one barrel carburetor uses an external spring, so you won't have a spring to return on here, but that's going to directly affect the working of the throttle butterfly here. As you can see, everything through there is nice and clean. It's brand new. You know, if yours is oxidized or something like that, it's a good idea to just take a small wire brush or carburetor cleaner, spray it through there. That'll help the flow as much as you can. What you'd want to do to clean this, say it was dirty, is take compressed air. The first thing you want to do once you take it all apart is hook the compressed air to the fuel inlet, blow it in there. That you'll see air come directly out of there, which is where your fuel is going to come in. Next, I would take the compressed air and go into this low-speed jet, and you'll see the fuel come out as a spray, and then you can stick it into the side here, and that should adequately get in. If you have a better tip on there, you can reach all the way into the high-speed jet and blow through there. That's really the only areas that fuel goes in this section of the carb. You just take some cleaner and clean all you can down in this whole bowl area to get some of the oxidization out of there. And then back to this piece here. Not a whole lot to go through here except for this tube. You'll see a lot of small holes in here which will control the fuel and air metering. It's a pretty delicate science to get this perfectly on, but from Tobias they run pretty well as they are. So just take compressed air and blow through those, get into your vent line, your breather line here, and just make sure this entire piece is generally clear. Any surfaces that you have gaskets stuck to can be run sandpaper over, or take a razor blade and just scrape them off. You'll want a nice clean shiny surface for that gasket to go back on. Otherwise you'll get air leaks and the car won't idle, it'll bog on acceleration and things like that, and just cause you general headaches. So you want every surface that you can in this carburetor to be nice and clean, and make sure all the parts go back together smoothly. And hopefully this has helped you do some preventative maintenance from week to week. A good idea is to flush these out with gas after you're done racing them. You'll see almost all the cars now will be equipped with the fuel valve to do so, and if you do leave the alcohol in, you can just start the car every few days, give it a couple of quick revs to clear it out, and that'll keep the alcohol from gelling up. The one barrel carbs are especially notorious for having alcohol gel down in this bowl area, because the jet sits way down in where the gel is going to occur, and all the sediment's going to build up, and that really wreaks havoc with them. Plus the fact that you only have one bore to be working with, so your car will barely run at all, whereas with the two barrel, at least you can get some of the passages clear and the car will run. So hopefully that's helped you out. If you have any questions, please email me at hammerdowndyno@yahoo.com. Thank you.